shut up. That is to say, that we become interiorly silent and cease from the interminable chatter that goes on inside our skulls. Because you see, most of us think compulsively all the time. That is to say, we talk to ourselves. And I remember when I was a boy, we had a common saying, talking to yourself is the first sign of madness. Now, obviously, if I talk all the time, I don't hear what anyone else has to say. And so in exactly the same way, if I think all the time, that is to say, if I talk to myself all the time, I don't have anything to think about except thoughts. And therefore I'm living entirely in the world of symbols and am never in relationship with reality. All right, now that's the first basic reason for meditation. But there is another sense, and this is going to be a little bit more difficult to understand, why we could say that meditation doesn't have a reason or doesn't have a purpose. And in this respect, it's unlike almost all other things that we do, except perhaps making music and dancing. Because when we make music, we don't do it in order to reach a certain point, such as the end of the composition. If that were the purpose of music, to get to the end of the piece, then obviously the fastest players would be the best. And so likewise, when we are dancing, we are not aiming to arrive at a particular place on the floor, as we would be if we were taking a journey. When we dance, the journey itself is the point. When we play music, the playing itself is the point. And exactly the same thing is true in meditation. Meditation is the discovery that the point of life is always arrived at in the immediate moment. And therefore, if you meditate for an ulterior motive, that is to say, to improve your mind, to improve your character, to be more efficient in life, you've got your eye on the future and you are not meditating. Because the future is a concept. It doesn't exist. As the proverb says, tomorrow never comes. There is no such thing as tomorrow. There never will be. Because time is always now. And that's one of the things we discover when we stop talking to ourselves and stop thinking. We find there is only a present, only an eternal now. So it's funny then, isn't it, that one meditates for no reason at all, except we could say for the enjoyment of it. And here I would interpose the essential principle that meditation is supposed to be fun. It's not something you do as a grim duty. The trouble with religion, as we know it, is that it is so mixed up with grim duties. We do it because it's good for you. It's a kind of self-punishment. Well, meditation, when correctly done, has nothing to do with all that. It's a kind of digging the present. It's a kind of grooving with the eternal now. And brings us into a state of peace where we can understand that the point of life, the place where it's at, is simply here and now. The easiest way to get into the meditative state is to begin by listening. If you simply close your eyes and allow yourself to hear all the sounds that are going on around you, just listen to the general hum and buzz of the world as if you were listening to music. Don't try to identify the sounds you're hearing. Don't put names on them. Simply allow them to play with your eardrums. And let them go. In other words, you could put it, let your ears hear whatever they want to hear. Don't judge the sounds. There are no, as it were, proper sounds or improper sounds, and it doesn't matter if somebody coughs or sneezes or drops something. It's all just sound.
Why did Amazon send me $20,000? Because I use Amazon AI. I'm going to show you a way to potentially make money by pairing Amazon with the power of AI.
Coffee, clots, clutches, success, oldne, God blessings. Is there anything you want to say?
Can you hook me up with the AI publishing for free?
Yeah.
And if I am talking to you right now and you're doing this, I want you to listen to the sound of my voice just as if it were noise. Don't try to make any sense out of what I'm saying, because your brain will take care of that automatically. You don't have to try to understand anything. Just listen to the sound. As you pursue that experiment, you will very naturally find that you can't help naming sounds, identifying them, that you will go on thinking, that is to say, talking to yourself inside your head automatically. But it's important that you don't try to repress those thoughts by forcing them out of your mind, because that will have precisely the same effect as if you were trying to smooth rough water with a flat iron. You're just going to disturb it all the more. What you do is this. As you hear sounds coming up in your head, thoughts, you simply listen to them as part of the general noise going on, just as you would be listening to the sound of my voice, or just as you would be listening to cars going by or to birds chattering outside the window. So look at your own thoughts as just noises. And soon you will find that the so-called outside world and the so-called inside world come together. They are a happening. Your thoughts are a happening, just like the sounds going on outside. And everything is simply a happening, and all you're doing is watching it. Now, in this process, another thing that is happening that is very important is that you're breathing. And as you start meditation, you allow your breath to run. One is completely aware of all sensory inputs. You don't try to shut off your senses. And although it may be helpful, say, to begin in meditation by closing the eyes, in the Zen philosophy of meditation, you don't close your eyes. You look at the floor in front of you, about 4 feet, and you allow the light to play with your eyes without putting any names on these patterns of light and shade and color. Just as you allow the sound waves in the air to play with your ears, but you don't put any name upon it. This is the special thing about Buddhism. Everything in Buddhism sounds negative. Let's put it this way. Let's suppose you engage yourself in a relationship with the Buddha. It strikes me more and more that our failure to feel at home in this astonishing brain in which we live is the result of a basic initial mistake in our thinking about the world, and is in turn the cause of what is beginning to look like the failure of our technology, of the fact that everything we're doing to try to improve the world was a success in the short run, made amazing initial improvements, but in the long run, we seem to be destroying the planet by our very efforts to control it and improve it.
Using Robinhood.
What are you trying to like figure out my burner account, Danny?
Trying to figure out my burner.
I didn't know that was you, but I feel like you might have gotten some incriminating recordings of me this week. Not that I should care about anything at all.
Okay, so I'm gonna play a guided meditation. This is Alan Watts. Hope you enjoy it.
Yeah, well, I was convinced that he disappeared or something and that he knew about this whole idea to, like, digitalize
What
people
seems to
and,
me
like,
to be
put
lacking
them into
in
this, like...
our Western religious observances is some sort of social ritual which gives an opportunity for spiritual experience. That is to say, for a transformation of the individual consciousness, so that in one way or another, the individual is able to realize his oneness with the eternal energy behind this universe, which some people call God, and others prefer not to name or to conceive. So what I'm proposing instead of the ordinary kind of religious service is, as I said, a contemplative ritual. And the idea is not to have everybody shaken up and whooping around, but to bring about a state of profound peace. So therefore I should say something in a preliminary way about meditation, or contemplation, as I prefer to call it. Meditation is the act of allowing one's thoughts to cease, is stopping the agitation of thinking. Thinking is talking to yourself. Now, if I talk all the time, I don't hear what anyone else has to say. Consequently, if I talk to myself all the time, I don't have anything to think about except thoughts. There is no interval between thoughts during which I can come into touch with reality, that is to say, the world which thoughts represent, as words represent events, or as money represents wealth. And so if I'm never silent in my head, I'm living in a world of total abstraction, divorced from reality altogether. Reality itself is neither mental nor spiritual, nor any concept that we can have of it. Reality is simply now, therefore, to meditate, you might think that we attempt to suppress thought. We do not do that. Because you cannot meditate. Let me put that in a more emphatic way. You cannot meditate. You, your ego image, can only chatter. Because when it stops, it isn't there. When you are not thinking, you have no ego, because your ego is a concept. The thinker behind the thoughts, the feeler behind the feelings, and the thinker behind the thoughts is only a thought, an idea of some reference point to which all our experiences happen. And that, of course, cuts us off from what we experience. It makes a great gap or gulf between the knower and the known. And that creates the spirit of alienation to the world from which we suffer. Conflict, hate, domineering spirit arise from that basic division. So when you come to an end of thought, and you don't know how to meditate, you don't know what to do with your mind, nobody can tell you, then thinking comes to an end naturally. You can begin meditation. Or meditation happens, and that is, happening is the watching simply of what is. Of all the information to you conveyed by your exterior and interior senses, and of the thoughts that keep chattering on about it all. You don't try to stop those thoughts. You just let them run as if they were birds twittering outside. And they will eventually get tired of themselves and stop. But don't worry about whether they do or don't. Just simply watch whatever it is that you are feeling, thinking, experiencing, and that's it. Watch it. And don't go out of your way to put any names on it. That's really what meditation is. And you see, you're not expecting any result. You are in meditation in an eternal present. You're not doing it to improve yourself. You found you can't do that. Your ego can't possibly improve you because it's what's in need of improvement. Your ego can't let go of itself because it is a complex called clinging to oneself. That's what it is by definition. So it's just something that evaporates when it is understood that it is unable to achieve a transformation of consciousness, mystical experience, the vivid sense of union of individual and cosmos. So, one of the easiest ways to enter into the state of meditation is therefore listening to what is, using the sense of sound. When you listen to sound, you listen to it, just the random sounds, that are going on in the room, in the street, as if you were listening to music, without trying to identify its source, name it, or put any label on it at all. Just enjoy whatever sound may be going on. Just listen. Now we can go on from that listening to making sound ourselves and also listening to it. And instead of making sound, we learn the knack of letting it happen through us. So then, we get to what is in India called the use of mantra. Words, sounds chanted, not for their meaning, but for their sound. And thus everything that will occur in the following celebration will not be in the English language. It is not intended to be understood in a discursive and intellectual sense. You are asked only to dig the sound. And I use the word dig advisedly because it means something a little more than appreciate. It means enter into, penetrate, get right to the bottom of. Because when you are listening to sound, and when you're letting sound hum through you, this is one of the most obvious manifestations of the energy of the universe. So we concentrate, therefore, purely on the sound, and you will find some of them are so simple that you will all be able to join in with them. And please do so quite freely. It is a ritual, and it has a certain order to it.
There's some of the areas where I'm seeing lines. My forehead lines, I got crow's feet right here, my frown lines.
l'Adonai Eloheinu harachanim ve'aselichot أنا حنين بهاسل حب ألا تشيت علينا حتات حتى نوصرين وسلاح لان ويوثرين شمع إسرائيل أدوناي إلهينو أدوناي إحاد شمع إسرائيل أدوناي أدوناي إحاد أدوناي هو إلهيم أدوناي هو إلهيم أدوناي هو إلهيم
شوادر الخير المفتري طبعا عندنا الخير نحن بالمخيم ثلاث ارباعها مفتري من الاولاد من البلد تمره أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله
أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله. أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله. حي على الصلاة. حي على الصلاة. حي على الفلاح. حي على الفلاح. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. لا إله إلا الله.
With Coinbase, you can trade Bitcoin in 6 easy steps. Create and verify your Coinbase.
الله أكبر. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله. أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله. حي على الصلاة. حي على الصلاة. حي على الفلاح. حي على الفلاح. Mood can't help people customize and save with Liberty Mutual.
Hey, Edmund. What the fuck, man?
Adrian, you're kind. Yeah, that's just John. I just hung up on him.
تلفزيوني انا حطيت طريق اليوم غرق عيوني لعيوني شكرا
For thy guards. On a milk white ass from over the sea, to me, come with Apollo in bridal dress, shepherdess and iconess. Come with Artemis, silken shod, and wash thy white thigh, beautiful God. In the moon of the woods, on the marble mount, the dimpled dawn of the amber fount. Dip the purple of passionate prayer in the crimson shrine, the scarlet snare, the soul that startles in eyes of blue. To watch thy wantonness weeping through the tangled robe, the gnarled bowl. Of the living tree thy spirit and soul, and body and brain come over the sea. Io Pan, devil or God, to me. My man, come with trumpet sounding shrill, over the hill. Come with drums low muttering from the spring. Come with flute and come with pipe, for thy guards.
Sing his praises, that dog.
I am Pan, you Pan, you Pan, Pan, Pan. I am thy mate, I am thy man, goat of thy flock. I am gold, I am God, flesh to thy bone, flour to thy rod, with hoofs of steel I race on the rocks. Through solstice stubborn to equinox, and I rave, and I rape, and I rip, and I rend, everlasting world without end, mannequin, maiden, maynard, man, in the might of Pan, Eopan, Eopan, Pan, Pan, Eopan. Okay, welcome, Sammy. That was a reading of the hymn to Pan. How are you today?
Yeah, I'm doing quite well. I have to say that you got to him a little bit wrong.
There's always a critic.
Yeah. Do you want to hear it the right way?
Yeah, go ahead.
Mieleeni minun tekeepi, aivoni ajatteleepi, lähteäni laulamaan, sukuvirtää suoltaamaan. Saanat suustani
I am Pan, you Pan, you
I am thy man. Goat of thy flock, I am gold. I am God. Flesh to thy bone, flour to thy rod, with who
for thy guards. On a milk white ass come over the sea, to me, come with Apollo in bridal dress, shepherdess and Pythoness. Come with Artemis, silken shod, and wash thy white thigh, beautiful God. In the moon of the woods, on the marble mount, the dimpled dawn of the amber fount. Dip the purple of passionate prayer in the crimson shrine, the scarlet snare, the soul that startles in eyes of blue. To watch thy wantonness weaving through the tangled grove, the gnarled bowl of the living tree that is spirit and soul, and body and brain come over the sea. Iopan, devil or God, to me. My man, come with trumpet sounding shrill over the hill. Come with drums low muttering from the stream. Come with flute and come with pipe for thy guards. On a milk white ass come over the sea, to me. Come with Apollo in bridal dress, shepherdess and Pythoness. Come with Artemis, silken shod, and wash thy white thigh, beautiful God. In the moon of the woods, on the marble mount, the dimpled dawn of the amber fount. Dip the purple of passionate prayer in the crimson shrine, the scarlet snare, the soul that startles in eyes of blue. To watch thy wantonness weaving through the tangled grove, the gnarled bowl of the living tree that is spirit and soul, and body and brain come over the sea. Iopan, devil or God, to me. My man, come with trumpet sounding shrill over the hill. Come with drums low muttering from the stream. Come with flute and come with pipes for thy guards. On a milk white ass come over the sea, to me. Come with Apollo in bridal dress, shepherdess and Pythoness. Come with Artemis, silken shod, and wash thy white thigh, beautiful God. In the moon of the woods, on the marble mount, the dimpled dawn of the amber fount. Dip the purple of passionate prayer in the crimson shrine, the scarlet snare, the soul that startles in eyes of blue. To watch thy wantonness weaving through the tangled grove, the gnarled bowl of the living tree that is spirit and soul, and body and brain come over the sea. Iopan, devil or God, to me. My man, come with trumpet sounding shrill over the hill. Come with drums low muttering from the stream. Come with flute and come with pipe for thy guards. On a milk white ass come over the sea, to me. Come with Apollo in bridal dress, shepherdess and Pythoness. Come with Artemis, silken shod, and wash thy white thigh, beautiful God. In the moon of the woods, on the marble mount, the dimpled dawn of the amber fount. Dip the purple of passionate prayer in the crimson shrine, the scarlet snare, the soul that startles in eyes of blue. To watch thy wantonness weaving through the tangled grove, the gnarled bowl of the living tree that is spirit and soul, and body and brain come over the sea. Iopan, devil or God, to me. My man, come with trumpet sounding shrill over the hill. Come with drums low muttering from the stream. Come with flute and come with pipe for thy guards. On a milk white ass come over the sea, to me. Come with Apollo in bridal dress, shepherdess and Pythoness. Come with Artemis, silken shod, and wash thy white thigh, beautiful God. In the moon of the woods, on the marble mount, the dimpled dawn of the amber fount. Dip the purple of passionate prayer in the crimson shrine, the scarlet snare, the soul that startles and eyes of blue. To watch thy wanton is sweeping through the tangled grove and gnarled bole of the living tree, thy spirit and soul, and body and brain come over the sea. I, O Pan, devil or God, to me. My man, come with trumpet sounding shrill over the hill. Come with drums low muttering from the spring. Come with flutes and come with pipe for thy guards. On a milk-white ass come over the sea, to me. Come with Apollo in bridal dress, shepherdess and iconess. Come with Artemis, silken shod, and wash thy white thigh, beautiful God. In the moon of the woods, on the marble mount, the dimpled dawn of the amber fount. Dip the purple of passionate prayer in the crimson shrine, the scarlet snare, the soul that startles and eyes of blue. To watch thy wantonness sweeping through the tangled grove and gnarled bole of the living tree, thy spirit and soul, and body and brain come over the sea. I, O Pan.
I am Pan, you Pan, Pan. I am thy mate, I am thy man, goat of thy flock. I am gold, I am God, flesh to thy bone, flour to thy rod, with hoofs of steel I race on the rocks. Through solstice stubborn to equinox, and I rave, and I rape, and I rip, and I rend, everlasting world without end, mannequin, maiden, maenad, man, in the might of Pan, Eopan, Eopan, Pan, Eopan. Okay, welcome, Sammy. That was a reading of the hymn to Pan. How are you today?
Yeah, I'm doing quite well. I have to say that you got the hymn a little bit wrong.
There's always a critic.
Yeah. Do you want to hear it the right way?
Yeah, go ahead.
Mieleeni minun tekevi, aivoni ajattelevi, lähteäni laulaamaan, sukuvirtää suoltaamaan. Saanat suustani
Okay, I'm going to read a book called How to Think Backwards by Frater Achad.
I
This is called Thinking Backwards by Frater Achad. In my initiation, I was taught to think backwards, and I am more and more convinced of the value of this practice. By thinking backwards, the man who is nigh bankrupt sees his wealth slowly, quickly, increasing instead of slipping from his grasp. There is nothing to fear when one thinks backwards, and oft-times the further we go, the more pleasing is the outlook. Childhood is ahead of us instead of behind, and our last thought of this life, that of slipping back into the womb of our mother. Even further than that, we many go, till we find ourselves as a tiny spermatozoon, leaping joyfully back to the loins of our father. Then even should we remember the present, have we not learned much and rediscovered the basic principle in ourselves? For that seed is as alive within us now as it was in him, ever multiplying and dividing, ready to leap forth again on its eternal mission. Things sometimes seem very ordinary when we look at them as they appear to us now, but one little trip backwards and we return refreshed. That which seems so ordinary becomes wonderfully illuminated by the light of our newly awakened memory of the past. The master Therion it was who taught me to think backwards, and this is the way I have come to think of the master Therion. This method fills me with joy, for it leads towards my ideal. Listen. I was with him today. He was very ordinary, even a little petty. It seemed there was nothing about him to arouse my enthusiasm. He was too near for me to appreciate him. Before I went to see him, he was more interesting, because I imagined he would be so much better than I found him to be. But a little while ago I was with him on Oesopus Island. There, as I remember, he seemed even better still. He told me such and taught me so much that I delighted greatly in his company. But before that, a little while before that, he was better still. I had just come to New York to visit him. There seemed so much he could tell me and be to me. For he, not my magical father, had I not given up all to be with him in his work, and to learn from him example the way of life and the true path? Yet even before that, he seemed better still. For months I had longed to be with him, to listen to his words of wisdom, that mine understanding might be perfect, even as his sons should be. Then I had but lived with him on other planes, and though others had told me much that might have disheartened me, yet but I must heart. This is called Thinking Backwards by Frater. Okay, this is the rest of Frater Achad. then I had but lived with him on other planes, and though others had told me much that might have disheartened me, yet but I must hark back again. Before that last December, in fact, he seemed very wonderful, even though perhaps I felt that I might find my path led to a place where I must meet him in terrible conflict. For was he not the great magician of the path of Beth? But before that had I not of him as pure wisdom the word of the eon, so that his attainment was such a wonderful thing that it affected every living thing. Did I not feel that every thought of his was a word of power, and that every act was a sacrament of utmost purity? And before that had I not plunged into the abyss to become Nemo, sitting in darkness and sorrow that he might attain fully the great Magus? Had I not before that given him up so that he might be free, because I thought so much of all that he had done for humanity and for me? What a wonderful conception I had of him then. And before that, was he not my master and my dearest treasure? For from him I received the secrets of high magic. Did not his image surpass the stars in my sight? But even before that, had he not come to me in the city of Vancouver in his body of flesh, and appeared so fine and perfect a man that all who met him were delighted in his presence, even in the presence of his body, for that it encased a soul of such wonderful power and brilliance that all was light in his presence? Before that, had he not been to me as Frater Om, a mysterious being, one with the great white brotherhood whose nature was but dimly shadowed in my mind, is my highest aspiration, so that the whole power of the deity seemed enshrined in him? Wonder beyond wonder that he might even be the light of the world himself, disguised under the name of Om. And before that, Poderabo, he that shall endure to the end, nameless, almost unknown to me, perhaps, but living for the good of every living thing, even me. Before that I knew him not, he was one with my ideal myself, and now he is my ideal, insofar as I know him not. Today it may be he approaches the infinitely small. Yes, today he appeared as the infinitely great. And tomorrow? After thinking it over for another 30 years, I still feel that perhaps this is the best way to view the Master Therion. Achad, May 13th, 1948. Achad, 1918. Triple O. Okay, this has been a reading of Thinking Backwards by Frater Achad. Then I had but lived with him on other planes, and though others had told me much that might have disheartened me, yet but I must hark back again. Before that.
Everybody wants to talk at the same time. But now that there's nobody here, she doesn't want to stay here. She's gonna leave. Amazing. You gotta love it.
Excuse me, Barthology, I would like to speak for 60 seconds uninterrupted, please.
Yes, you may. Yes, you have 60 seconds uninterrupted. Thank you very much.
I know you're a family man. You have a wife, or you had a wife, and you have children, or you had some children. But, you know, the whole point of Clown House, really, it's not so much education. It's really about meditation, which I think is about listening and beholding or observing, and really not casting an opinion on what you're listening to. And then you arrive at the immediate point, which is now, which is the real point of life. So if you were to waste another 10 years debating on this app, guess what? You'd still ultimately arrive at the same point, which is now. And so there is this eternal infinity, which is real time and always with us. So the problem is what Shakespeare said, which is words, 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 words times a trillion. And so it's just an infinite string of words, always bringing you back to the now. And so I guess the point is, if I were to ask you a question and say, Barthology, when you were in that hole, so unfairly being prosecuted in a dark pit of despair, did you ever meditate or do chanting or stop thinking and thus shut up and listen and behold the magnificence of the eternal now, which is truly God itself? I am complete. This is AdrianDittman.com.
Yeah, that's very interesting. Adrian. Did I have a lot of those moments by myself? Yeah, I did a lot of push-ups. And what I would do is I would do like burpees just to exhaust myself so this way I could fall asleep. And that was the best way I dealt with it for the first 2 weeks. And then after that, I had an insomnia trip where I was up for 18 hours and then I couldn't sleep. And then I went through different phases because I did the burpees and the push-ups so much that I was sore and I couldn't move. So I had to stop doing that. And then, it just went through phases. But I eventually had a routine, and I eventually just created a routine, and it just made it every day go by. I did think about, what if they forget I'm here? My fear was that we had an earthquake or something happened, and then I was going to get stuck in there, and no one was going to get me out. Those kind of nightmares happened. I will say, though, if someone stays in there for a long time, I do see how it can drive somebody crazy. If I was in there for longer, I think, 6 weeks was all right, but there's guys that have been there for a long time. That's really messed up. So, that's it. That's my hot take.
Well, the point is meditation. So the analogy or the analog corollary or the abstract is that when you're in the hole in prison, that's an image or concept for essentially enlightenment or the mind itself or consciousness. So it's a house, and Clown House acts also in the same way as your brain. It is a compartmentalization of information, which is really the definition of psychology. So, you could always go back to the title of the room, or you could teach meditation. Meditation, there's a couple techniques. You could come to this Clown House and just listen and call that a meditation. However, it's so much traumatic vibration and negative words being transmitted through you if you were to use this app as a meditational tool, that it's not a useful tool for meditation. So if you want to use it correctly, you have to use this tool for positive vibration. So I would just encourage you to curate and command positivity. Joy, joy, joy now. This is AdrianDittman.com.
That's Adrian. He just wants to be heard. I always love it when he comes by. Appreciate you, Adrian. What is this guy saying? Matthew 27. Now Jesus stood before the governor, and the governor questioned him, saying, "Are you the king of the Jews?" And he said,
James was describing what he was saying, it kind of reminded me of the way Charles Manson was recorded talking. What he's saying kind of has a vibe to it that can attract certain people, but it doesn't make a lot of sense at all.
Thank you. Anybody else have a different definition of word salad?
Yeah, basically whenever P. Mars talks about presup.
Repeat that. Repeat that, please.
Whenever P. Mars talks about his presuppositional apologetics, it's word salad.
That sounds like a shot rather than a definition.
Yeah, first generation.
Okay, I tell you what, that'll be enough for the definitions of word salad. Dude, would you like to follow up any more on this or anything else? If you've got
sure. So what I heard, I think I could put in two different categories. One, mental illness, what happens to people that are perhaps suffering from mental illness. And then another one, actually three. There was one interesting one there, poetry. I would think that poetics matters, and philosophy. Once somebody's able to have like a full apprehension and comprehension of the words that they are using, they're able to string them together poetically. And then the other comments were just people seemingly today have lost the ability to have a comprehension of the meaning of the words that they are using. So it's coming out incoherent, but it might make sense to that. And that might be because of their limited apprehension and comprehension of the language in which they're choosing. The reason why I bring this up is because in the beginning was the word, and just the word logos, and what logos actually means. It's, for example, it's basically, here I'll put reason or the rational principle expressed in words and things, argument or justification. So it's just important for anybody speaking or listening to have a understanding of logos and the meaning and comprehension of the words that they're using. I think is very important. I think it was a great comment, Les, and I just wanted to dig into it a little further. Thank you.
I appreciate that. And before we move on to Elliot and Earth, there is a related word which nobody has brought up, probably because it's related. It arguably is related to word salad, but arguably not. And the word, I hope I'm pronouncing it right, is Schadenfreude. And here is Alan Shore to explain the definition of Schadenfreude. And after that, we'll go to Elliot and Earth.
Schadenfreude. From the German words Schaden and Freude, damage and joy. It means to take spiteful, malicious delight in the misfortune of others. We used to dismiss this as simply an ugly side of human nature, but it is much, much more than that. Recently, a Stanford professor actually captured Schadenfreude on a brain scan. It's a physiological medical phenomenon. When we see others fall, it sometimes causes a chemical to be released in the dorsal striatum of the brain, which actually causes us to feel pleasure. If you watch the news or read the papers, which of course you don't because the judge said not to, but if you did, you would see the undeniable delicious joy of the media and the public over Kelly Nolan's plight. I have no doubt that you want Kelly Nolan to be punished. She married for money, she had an affair, she carried on naked in the pool with her boyfriend. She's cold, materialistic, unlikable. And it might bring you all pleasure.
Then I had but lived with him on other planes, and though others had told me much that might have disheartened me, yet but I must hark back again. Before that last December, in fact, he seemed very wonderful, even though perhaps I felt that I might find my path led to a place where I must meet him in terrible conflict. For was he not the great magician of the path of Beth? But before that, had
Elliot, welcome to the show. What would you like to talk about?
So there is a tape.
Elliot going once, Elliot going twice. We'll come back to Elliot. Let's move on to Earth. Good morning, Earth. It's a pleasure to see you on the show. What would you like to talk about?
Hi, Steve. Thanks so much for having me here. I just want to say that all communication is hypnosis, and that word salad is like what Shakespeare said. Words, 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 words. And if all you do is use words, and you never listen, and shut up, and you never learn the secret of meditation, and go within to know the truth, that the more you speak, the more you think, the further from the truth you will be, Uncle Steve. Therefore, stop thinking and end your problems. Stop with your word salad, sir. You are addicted to salad. Salad words, word salad. I am complete. Thank you, Uncle Steve. I hope I can maybe join you.
And a first-class escort to the VIP. I think that was somewhat entertaining because it lasted 60 seconds. I have no problem with that contribution to the show. 3 to 5 minutes, I probably would have gotten a headache, but 60 seconds, I think it was good for the show. Let's try Elliot again. Elliot, are you there? Elliot going once, Elliot going twice. Okay, we'll come. But there we go. Hi, Elliot.
I'm getting breakfast with my daughter, so.
Does that mean you don't want to speak now, but you want to speak in a little bit?
Yes.
All right, go ahead and go on mute. We'll come back to you. So we've got our mandatory break coming up in about 10 minutes, and then the show will go 1 more hour. So if you're in the audience and you want to come on up, please feel free. You are encouraged to talk about anything. Religion, God, politics, current events, Clubhouse, you, me. And if you need some suggestions on what to talk about, here's what I call the best 2 minutes on Clubhouse.
Tonight, for the first time ever, the U.S. using military planes for deporting migrants. President Trump touring disaster zones, signaling he's open.
Okay, that was hilarious.
Where I can't find it.
Well, because you're looking in all the wrong places, Zach. It's already inside of you, within.
Is it in Casa de Casa de Apel?
Yeah.
Del Apel?
Yep, that's Uncle Steve's Ask the Atheist.
Oh, Ask the Atheist. I don't see that one.
You might be blocked.
I don't see it. Maybe I'm blocked.
You really don't realize how blocked you are until you get a new burner account, and then all of a sudden you're like, wow, there's all these people again.
Right. Yeah, maybe I need a new one, huh?
Yeah.
Think about that.
Think about that. You know, it was so funny when I was just on the Uncle Steve show. It was like, as soon as I started talking, everybody just like flipped out, and it was like, that's Edmund! Stop him! Kick him! But they let me go on. And I think what I said was, you know, actually very important, which is really meditation. So I've been spending a lot of time listening to meditation, the guided meditations, which is essentially hypnosis. And it's really important to do. And it's just unbelievable. And I'll limit my chatter because the whole point is to limit your chatter, which is really the N word, F word, or the I word within all of us. I think you could call it, what did I just say? N word, F word. Anyways, I was going to try to create an acronym. So this is poetry. And if you have any poetry to read, this is a reading room. And it's being live streamed on multiple platforms. And last night we had a breakthrough. We actually had 1,000 people watching us on live stream, which was kind of incredible.
Wow, really? That's amazing.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
I mean, I wasn't here. I was
sleeping. So, but yeah, my biggest success in 2024 was when this illegal alien came over here and we made love on YouTube. I think that got like 150,000 views on live stream. It was pretty
and then
amazing.
Diogenes came with a 3-step plan, and then it got ruined your YouTube channel.
I heard they're installing catapults at the southern border. Is that true?
I don't know. But Diogenes will be on Friday.
Is he building a
Yeah.
catapult? Is he building a catapult launching system?
No, I think he will do other things than building a catapult.
You have two choices. You can be shot in the face or you can be launched with a catapult. Which one are you going to choose? I'll go with the catapult, sir. Woo! Launch the catapults.
Have you heard about the story of Abraham being put on a catapult, and then he was sent to fire, and then while he was about to land in the fire, the coal turned into black fishes, and the fire turned into water.
Yeah.
And until today, there's still a pool with black fishes swimming around.
Think about that.
You don't believe me?
No, that's all. That's a lot of metaphor there, but it's fun. It's awesome. I mean, thanks for sharing
Let me
it.
find a source for you.
Listen,
That's one of my favorite stories.
anybody who is in love with Diogenes Spooners needs to like get a selfie of him, you know, and like examine his pores on his nose and think about that. Hi, Plural. Welcome to the Alan Watts Being in the Way room. Also, Go Within room, as well as the poetry reading room. We're limiting all irascible communication this morning because time is brief and we don't have time to talk with fatties or skinnies, as I like to call them. Fatties or skinnies. So go within and know that the more you think, the more you speak, the further from the truth you're going to get. Stop thinking, Abby, and end your problems. As you too, Zach. Okay. Stop thinking and end your problems. So stop thinking about that, okay, and end your problems. That's what I'm trying to say. Thank you very little, Abby. Plural, do you want to say anything? For somebody who's a neurologist, you sure, you know, you
Not
need
a neurologist.
you need a lobotomy, fatty. Do you know how to shut up and listen? I bet you don't.
No.
I bet you
I'm a
don't.
woman.
You're a what?
A woman, you have to make me shut up.
Think about that, fatty. Okay, Plural,
Okay,
do you
read the
shut up? Shut up. Do you ever shut up, Abby? Think about that. Do you even know how to meditate, fatty? Abby, think about that, fatty. Shut up. You're not listening. Shh.
Okay, Monica.
Ugh. I have to get in my Honda Civic and drive to work, okay?
You don't
Shut up!
Say silence, please.
Shut up, Abby.
Silence.
Silence, please. I think that's actually like the silver bell way to like politely organize in the house. Silence, please. Ding, 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 ding. If I had a family, I would use a bell. I would actually Pavlovian dog train my family with a bell. Ding, ding, ding. Like, it's just obvious that we are sound-based, you know, organisms. And as sound-based organisms, if you figure that out, you realize very quickly that you can manipulate through sound. So it is, if you can reverse engineer sound engineering, you can reverse engineer your life in many ways. Something to think about,
Think about.
So I did read an interesting book this morning. It's called How to Think Backwards. And it's very interesting. It's only 6 minutes long. It's uploading to YouTube right now. And I'm just here to share the good news with you that you are all so close to flying. And that's the whole thing, is everybody has the same enlightenment. But if you really understand enlightenment, you would know that life is joy. And the saying is, the universe is complete and total random chance. Therefore, life is absolutely joy. So if you were to really run the numbers, it is so, the improbability of your existence is so high that to be alive is joy. And so when you realize that, you will realize that if you have any difficulties in life, it's your own fault, because I just shared with you the good news. The secret is out. So anyways, that's the philosophy. And it all just deals with love, agape, thelema in Greek, or action, which is will, and which is God, which is go do, go forward and do backwards. That's the secret of God. I figured it out. This is all philosophy and poetry.
That's good. Did you make that up?
No, I didn't make it up. I mean, I've read enough books to where I'm able to figure this out just by looking at the root word itself. So yeah, that's the secret meaning, in my opinion, of God, based off of philosophy, or love and joy, or Kabbalah, you could say, basically linguistics. So I went to this rabbi, I made tzedakah once, and I was like crying. I'm like, I'm so depressed. He's like, John, you got to go home and be productive. So he was telling me to go do God, to go do, to just be in action and to shut up, because chronic thinking is the problem and automatic thinking is the problem. Because your mind can pretty much optimize. And so the whole point also of meditation and philosophy is always to be in the now, that the whole purpose of life, it's not about your memories. It's about being in the moment, which is the present now, which is technically the eternity and the infinity, because what it says is there's no future. It's just conceptual. And so the whole point of life is to be in the moment. And if you really are in the moment, what you're doing is organizing, and therefore you're affecting the future. So if you want to change the abstract concept known as the future, it's best to be in the now, because if you're optimizing now, your future is going to be better, because what you're really doing is organizing against entropy. And this is my understanding of the word God, go do. And if you do that, your future is going to be better than if you don't go do. So study the wisdom of God, hypnotize and meditate on the wisdom of God, and it will help you optimize your go do, because you won't be pulled into the abstract bullshit word hypnosis of these stupid rooms in this stupid app. And this stupid app is just a microcosm of all the other bigger, stupider apps that will just hypnotize you and prevent you from going to do. So this is the value of meditation, which frees you from the hypnosis. And if you're doing good meditation hypnosis work, what you're really doing is dehypnotizing yourself from all the communication hypnosis which is out there, because you're present in the moment. You're more aware. You have been enlightened or lightened of the words. So if in the beginning the word was, the creator, or the logos, prior to the word's manifestation, it was silence. So silence brings you to the now, which is the reservoir of all available opportunities. And it's really just a big communication hypnosis game after that. That's my understanding. So that's my philosophy rant for the day. Think about that. And shut up, fatty.
I'm not bad.
You say it like a fat person.
Projection?
Well, I'm feeling pretty good, but I will say, I didn't have time to do any sit-ups yesterday.
You can call me fatty.
My gym is closing. I can't believe it, but they're closing the gym February 21st. Like, they're shutting the facility down.
Why?
Because they're selling the property.
Oh, what are you going to do now?
I don't know. There's other gyms available, but this one's the closest one. So it's like, now I got to go drive further. It's not the end of the world, but it is what it is. I'm just like, shocked. I'm like, and that's just my gym. Imagine being in like a loving, committed relationship, being married for 10 years in absolute bliss. Then your wife divorces you and takes half of all your money, leaves you with nothing but despair and depression. Where will you be then? Where will you be? If you don't have Torah, what will you have? So that's also the other secret about wisdom and Torah is terrible things are coming. But if you really understand go do, or the philosophy of love, and the concept that there's not a speck of dust out of place in the whole universe, which is essentially saying, again, the whole meaning of life is to be in the present moment. It's like a double-edged sword because it is about organizing the future, but it's also about not living in your thoughts or doing self-talk or thinking, essentially. So this really is about brain science and brain hacking through manipulation and techniques and tools and strategies and tactics and things like that. So again, this is my bullshit philosophy rant of the morning. Thank you for letting me dopamine dump on you. And Rabbono Shalom. This is AdrianDittman.com.